Hello and welcome back. This video will move you one step closer to starting your social network analysis. All right, let's jump in. Where we left off in the last video was learning about a few basic concepts related to social networks. If you are new to social network analysis and have not watched the first tutorial video, you may want to watch that one before returning to this one. In this video, we will focus on the second step here, where you will begin to define the scope of your social network. So what does define your scope mean? It's pretty simple and based on your answers to two key decisions. First, you need to decide who is going to be considered part of your social network. In social network analysis, we refer to this as the network's boundary. Second, you need to decide what process or how you are going to assess network characteristics. The first decision of determining who is considered as part of your network is relatively easy. You simply draw a boundary around who you consider to be in. Some of you may want to work at the district level. Others may be interested in completing work within a single school. And then a third option is to complete work at multiple schools within a district. As you can see, these different boundary options have overlap, meaning that if you choose to work at the school level, you might also want to include folks from the district, as they likely influence the school. Ultimately, the decision of what boundary is really best left up to you. I'll just note that on page 19 of the Healthy Schools Toolkit, there's an action item that walks you through a few different questions to help you determine what network boundary might be best for your situation. We encourage you to download the toolkit, which you can view and download at healthyschools.toolkit.wustl.edu. And work your way to page 19 where you can complete this activity on your own. The second decision you have to make is how you are going to pursue information about your social network. There are 3 different process levels available to you. We saw a glimpse of this in the first video when we looked at the options chart at the beginning of Module 1. Each level or option allows you to go a bit further, understanding more about your social network analysis. The first process level is to create a roster or list of individuals who might be considered influential in your social network. You can do some basic analyses of this roster, but with this process level, you aren't able to produce any network maps or statistics, such as density, which you will remember if you watch the first video. The second process level is to survey everyone on your roster in order to gather information about who communicates with and trusts whom. Again, there are some key statistics you can gather from the survey results, but if you stop here, you will not be able to produce the network maps that we saw and took some time analyzing in the first video. So the third process level allows you to create a network map, which provides you the most robust information about your network. And again, there's an action item in the Healthy Schools Toolkit, which you can download and view and print and work through. But if you navigate to page 21 of the toolkit, there'll be this action item which will help you to understand which process level is really best for you. Reminder, you can also check out the options chart at the beginning of Module 1. Okay, you are almost ready to start your social network analysis. But before you do, I just want to provide a really easy breakdown of the steps ahead and the web applications that you can use to make each of those steps a lot easier on you and your team. So you will start by asking a few stakeholders to complete a roster development form. in orange here. This is the step that represents that. This form asks you to identify 10 to 12 people who are well-trusted sources of school information and in frequent contact with many others. It is completed using an online web application, and we'll provide a link to that as well as a video to show you how to use that form. Once your stakeholders complete the roster development form, they will download it and share it with whomever is coordinating the social and network analysis. That might be you, viewer, or it might be someone else. Again, you can watch the video on roster development for a more detailed look about how to do this first step. After roster development, the coordinator will upload the roster forms that they've received to the Coordinator Center. So this is a separate web application, and it's designed to work perfectly with the roster development process. On the Coordinator Center, the coordinator will complete a few simple data management tasks and prepare a final list, which is called the final roster list. So if you're just doing the first process level for social network analysis, then this is where you'll stop. You won't have to go further to the network survey, but it'll mean that you won't be able to create a network map. But if you continue onto the third step, then you'll get a lot more information. Just a reminder, we'll have a few videos for you to be able to watch about the roster cleanup step and how to use the Coordinator Center. Okay, but the third step in this process is stakeholders will complete a network survey, and you guessed it, they will do so on another web application. Once they've completed the survey, they'll download their results and share it back with the coordinator. So similar to the roster development step, they're going to be working on a web application and send their results to the coordinator. So after folks have sent the coordinator their network survey results, the coordinator is really in the home stretch. All they need to do is return to the Coordinator Center to design a network map that aligns with what they want to know. So we have a few different videos for this final step, which will help you understand not only how to create the network map, but also how to make use of the statistics that come with it. So a few last notes about the web applications before we wrap up this video and turn you loose on your social network analysis. So you might have realized that I mentioned a few different web applications. And when I say web applications, I really just mean websites. But within those websites we've had some web developers develop some really neat processes so that all of the difficult data management and analysis techniques that are involved with social network analysis are built into the back end of the website so that you don't have to be doing any of those. You just have to follow the instructions to be able to get to the end result. But it may seem overly complex to have multiple web applications, but trust us, this really just helps to ensure that the multi-step process runs smoothly for you as a user, especially. The other thing to keep in mind is that some of the web applications are outward facing, so used by stakeholders, and these include the roster development and the network survey applications. Other web applications are more intended for back-end use, so they'll be used by a coordinator. And this web application that's more for the coordinator is nicely called the Coordinator Center, so that's easy to remember. We also want you to know that the web applications, the websites are designed so that the export of step 1 becomes the input of step 2. In other words, if you create and download a file in step 1, that file will be used in step 2. It's important that you keep track of the data files and resist the urge to rename them. Also, if you decide that you need to create a workaround in one step, then know that you will need to do some additional work on the back end to be able to continue to use the web applications in all future steps. And say that again, if you create a workaround, be prepared for extra work. So as an example of this, you might be tempted to ask stakeholders to use a Google form to submit their roster recommendations in step 1. Maybe your stakeholders are a little bit more familiar with Google Forms and they won't be so wary of using a web application that's not familiar to them. I totally understand that. But if you do that, you won't be able to upload those forms to the Coordinator Center in step 2. You can always backtrack and enter the recommendations that folks provide you yourself, but keep in mind that that will create extra work for you. And sometimes a workaround may cause you more headaches than it's worth. Finally, we're happy to share that the web applications are designed with your data privacy in mind. What that means is that the data that you enter into the web application is never saved online, in a database, or in any of our local files, anywhere, everywhere, or anywhere at any time. This protects your information, but it also creates some limitations. The first limitation is that the web applications will time out after 15 minutes of not being active or having no data being entered. When the applications time out, the information that you've entered to that point won't be available to you when you return and reload the page. So we've created lots of ways that you can save your work periodically, pick it back up, and future videos in this tutorial series will help explain how you can do that. But I just want to remind everyone to make sure to download the data that you create to your own local files. And my recommendation is that you create a separate folder where all of your social network analysis work and files can live so that you are organized and everything's in one place. Okay, so that's all for this video. In the next tutorial, you'll be introduced to that first step that I mentioned a few slides previously, which is roster development. Very exciting. I look forward to seeing you in that video.